Precious was a young girl from Abuja. Her mother, Mrs. Ngozi, sold tomatoes in the market, while her father was a carpenter. Despite the financial struggles they faced, Precious's parents made sure to send her and her 3 siblings to school. After her father's sudden death, Mrs. Ngozi worked even harder to provide for her children. She toiled under the rain and scorching sun, selling tomatoes to make ends meet. Precious was determined to make a better life for herself. She studied hard and eventually got a job at a big law firm in Abuja. She moved out of her mother's apartment and started living the high life, but Precious had a secret. She was ashamed of her poor background and lied to her rich friends, telling them that her parents were based in Canada. She was afraid that if they found out the truth, they would desert her. "I can't risk getting exposed," she said to herself. "My friends would desert me if they find out about my family background. I have told a lot of lies, and I have worked very hard to keep my secret safe. The show must go on," she said, sitting quietly in her room. No one must find out. While Precious was busy partying, shopping, and living her life to the fullest, her mother and younger siblings were struggling. As the first child, Precious was expected to help her mother and also take care of her younger siblings. But she never cared. She had hated poverty and the family she was born into. "I will rewrite my destiny," she said to herself when she was 14 years old. 2 years later, Precious met a young, handsome, and very wealthy guy named Steve. She fell in love with him, but she was afraid to tell him the truth about her family. So, she continued to lie, telling him that her parents were based in Canada. Steve loved Precious genuinely and couldn't wait to marry her. He quickly introduced her to his family. Precious was wowed because Steve's family was very wealthy. "This is what I have been waiting for all my life," she said. "Finally, my dreams are coming through." But she was worried and decided to keep on lying in order to maintain her stance. The lies continued until one day, one of Precious's colleagues in the office came to shop in the market. She came to Mrs. Ngozi's kiosk to buy some tomatoes. She was surprised to see the striking resemblance between Mrs. Ngozi and Precious. Her colleague, "You look exactly like someone I know," she said to Mrs. Ngozi. "Except that you are much older. It might be my daughter, Precious," Mrs. Ngozi said. "My daughter looks exactly like me." "What? Are you trying to tell me that you are Precious's mother?" the colleague asked. "Yes, dear," Mrs. Ngozi replied. "I have not set my eyes on her for the past 3 years, and she never called for once. I fear that she might be dead, but people kept saying that she is on social media." The colleague was shocked. "Wow, just wow. So Precious has been deceiving all these years. Wonders shall never end." The colleague, Ruth, went ahead to tell Mrs. Ngozi everything about Precious and where she lived and also her house address. Mrs. Ngozi, with a teary eye, thanked Ruth and begged her not to disclose to anyone yet about their chance encounter. She left. On getting home that day, Mrs. Ngozi told her children what happened in the market and they were shocked. 1 week later, while Precious and Steve were having a nice time in her apartment, they heard a knock on the door. Steve rushed to open the door and was shocked to see 2 people standing at the door, saying that they were Precious's mother and sister. "How is this possible?" Steve said. But Precious said her parents are in Canada, calling Precious to come, and when she came, she was shocked to see her mother and sister standing at her door. She fainted, and when she woke up, all her lies had been exposed. Steve apologized to Mrs. Ngozi and called Precious a fraud and a pathetic liar. "You are heartless, Precious," Steve said. "How can you do this to your own family? I would have still married you even if you are poor. I truly love you, Precious, and you hid your family from me. You are a liar and a deceiver. I don't want to set my eyes on you again," he shouted as he stormed off. Precious broke down crying. "I wanted to check if you are dead or alive," Mrs. Ngozi said, crying. "My daughter, is this the upbringing I gave you? Such big lies. No wonder you abandoned us, your family," Mrs. Ngozi continued. "You have hated poverty and the family you were born into. I remember when you were 14 years old, you said to yourself, 'I will rewrite my destiny.' Now, I understand what you meant." Precious's sister was also disappointed in her. "Sister, how could you do this to us?" she asked. "We are your family, and you abandoned us. You never cared about us or our well-being." Precious was devastated. She had never intended to hurt her family or Steve. She had just wanted to escape her poor background and live a better life. After her family left, Precious was alone in her apartment, feeling sorry for herself. She realized that she had made a big mistake by lying to Steve and abandoning her family. Days turned into weeks, and Precious didn't hear from Steve or her family. She was worried and didn't know what to do. One day, she decided to quit her job and move back to her mother's apartment. She wanted to make amends with her family and start a new life. When she arrived at her mother's apartment, she was welcomed with open arms. Her mother and siblings were happy to see her, and they forgave her for her mistakes. Precious was grateful for a second chance. She promised to take care of her family and be honest with them from then on. Steve, on the other hand, was still hurt by Precious's lies. He didn't know if he could ever trust her again. Precious was grateful for a second chance. She promised to take care of her family and be honest with them from then on. Steve, on the other hand, was still hurt by Precious's lies. He didn't know if he could ever trust her again, but as he reflected on their relationship, he realized that he still loved Precious. He wanted to give her another chance, but he needed time to think. Months went by, and Precious was patient. She knew that she had hurt Steve deeply, and she didn't expect him to forgive her easily. She rented a big apartment for herself and her family, and also opened a mini supermarket for her mom, and started taking care of her mom and younger siblings. Luckily for Precious, She got a very lucrative job that is way better than her former job. They all started living happily, but one day, Steve, who have been secretly monitoring Precious, and have seen the efforts and progress she have been making in changing herself and becoming a better person, Steve showed up at Precious's new apartment. He looked happy and relaxed, and Precious's heart skipped a beat. "Precious, I have been thinking a lot about us," Steve said. "I know you lied to me, but I also know that you love me. I want to give you another chance, but you have to promise me one thing." "What is that?" Precious asked, her heart racing with excitement. "You have to promise me that you will always be honest with me," Steve said. "No more lies, no more secrets. Can you promise me that?" Precious nodded eagerly. "I promise, Steve. I will always be honest with you from now on." Steve smiled and took Precious's hand. "I love you, Precious," he said. "Let's start a new life together, a life built on trust and honesty." Precious was overjoyed. She had been given a second chance, and she was determined to make the most of it. As they hugged each other tightly, Precious knew that she had finally found her true happiness. She had learned a valuable lesson about the importance of honesty and trust in relationships, and as they walked hand in hand into their new life together, Precious knew that she would never forget the lessons she had learned from her mistakes. She was grateful for a second chance, and she was determined to make the most of it.